Hi, this is Jonathan Cahn, and I'm here at It's Supernatural, my friend Sid Roth. And because I'm here, I'm going to share what is supernatural, the story behind what you may know, but you may not know that it was supernatural behind it. And that is The Harbinger. All the books I've written, it started with The Harbinger. And the Harbinger started with really the hand of God. First, I was standing at ground zero, and I saw a tree that had been struck down, and it was the Spirit just drew my attention to this tree and said, you have to search this out. There's a mystery here. And so I did. And it became the puzzle piece, a mystery, a piece that kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And whenever I needed the next clue or the next piece of the puzzle, it would just come. Or someone would say something, it would be the next thing. Or I'd type something into my computer and something came back that I did not type, and it was the next revelation of the mystery. And it kept unfolding and unfolding. And so I shared it first at Beth Israel, my congregation in New Jersey. And it turned out that one of the people who heard it, this is just to a number of people, was the sister of the producer here of It's Supernatural. And she sent word, and then Sid Roth called me. Now, this is years before the book. And he said, we heard about this thing, you got to do it. So I did it on the radio with Sid, but I didn't do anything more with that. And then years later, the Lord said, you have to make a book, you have to write this. So I never wrote a book in my life. And when I wrote The Harbinger in the form that you read it, which is the story, which is a prophet speaking to a man called Noriel, it just wrote itself. I mean, literally, I never wrote a book. It wrote itself. Every time I sat down, it was like the book just wrote itself. So finally I finished. But now, I didn't know how to publish a book. And a friend who was in the industry said, well, that you're known in the Messianic movement, you're known here, but they don't know you in the publishing world. So you gotta make a name for yourself. You gotta brand yourself. I said, I'm not gonna brand myself. I'm not a cow. And so the day came that I finished, and I was heading on a plane to Dallas to speak at Promise Keepers. It stopped in Charlotte, which is here. Stopped in Charlotte. And so I knew I had to do this. I bowed my head at the airport and I said, Lord, The Harbinger is your word, not mine. You have to make it go forth, not man, not agents, not publishers. You have to do it. You know how to get words forth to nations. You know how to do it. That was it. I opened up my eyes, and there's a man sitting to my left. And he turns to me and he says, so what's the good word? And I said, what's the good word? I said, God loves you. He says, I know that, but what's the good word? I think this is strange. So I'm sharing with him. I'm witnessing to him. I'm trying to get him saved. He's trying to get me saved until we both realize that we're both saved. And then he turns to me, he says, Jonathan, you wrote a book. This book is of God. This book is going to be sent forth. God is going to take the book. He's going to send it forth to the nation and to the world. And he says, where you have been known, it's nothing compared to what's going to happen now. What you have done is nothing compared to what you're going to do now. But it's going to be overnight. It's going to happen like that. He gives the word now. Now, let me backtrack for a second. I'm not, I don't know football so much, but maybe some of you do. But there was a Super Bowl there was a catch called the helmet catch. It's the most famous catch in Super Bowl history. A guy named David Tyree catches the ball on his helmet and they win the game. Well, David Tyree, people don't know, is a Christian. He's a believer. And he's always praying, Lord, I want to glorify your name. It's not football. And before he went into that game, a man gives him a prophecy. And it says that something's gonna happen, and he knew it was gonna be a catch. It's gonna happen, and God's gonna take you into the spotlight, and you're gonna glorify God. Well, it all happened, and he wrote a book and glorifying God because of it. Now the guy who gave him that prophecy is the guy sitting next to me at the airport, and he said when he went down. I just sat down, and he sat down. He said God spoke to him and said, "You have to speak to that man." Now he said, Lord, he said, I can't speak to that man because for some reason, apparently he thought I looked Jewish. And I'm wearing black, like I sometimes do. And I was kind of like, I'm praying that prayer, Lord, you have to do it. And he thought I was Orthodox, something. So he said, I'm not going to do it. He said, literally, he was gripped with pain until he opened his mouth and gave me that word. And the thing is, so he gave me that word, and because of that, then I told him, and then he because of David Tyree's Super Bowl catch, he had been put in touch, this guy who gave the word was put in touch with Steve Strang, the president of Charisma Publishers that published David Tyree, and he sent word from the airport. And so all of a sudden I get an email from Steve Strang, president of Charisma Publishers, and says, we heard what happened at the airport. We heard about this thing called The Harbinger. We have no idea what it is, but we're interested. And that is how The Harbinger went forth to the world, not by the hand of man, not by agents, but by the hand of God. And the thing is, in the book, in The Harbinger itself, I share about the prophet and this man called Noriel, and it begins, or they come together. He sits in a public place. This guy sitting to his left, the prophet turns to him, gives him a word that leads the man to bring a word, a book to America. So God was actually replaying what's in the Harbinger in the airport. And you think how awesome God is, because if David Tyree did not catch that ball on his helmet, the Harbinger would not have gone forth as it did. And so it's amazing. You think of every little detail in that football game. It's like a chess game. Every single detail had to be in its place for the Harbinger to go forth. That's how God is. And I just want to encourage you, because it's not just about this. You know, sometimes God opens up the veil and we see, wow, how God did this and this and this in my life. But you know what? It's happening all the time. We only see it sometimes. And what happened to me is happening in your life as well. God is weaving. He promised to weave every event in your life together for good. That's how awesome this is. And that's how supernatural God is, just like you would expect him to be. And that is how the Harbinger went forth to the world.